don't think shit, stink pink gators. My Detroit players, Tim's for my hooligans in Brooklyn. Dead right, if they head right, Biggie there, and I Papa been school since day.
What's going on, guys, and welcome to the first episode of the Health and Hustle podcast. My name's Todd Sable, along with Cory Carpenter. We've been working hard on this thing for a few weeks now, and this is probably take 4 with us trying to get everything together with the audio and the visual. So, and it's actually 3:30 in the morning right now, so we're really excited to get this to you guys. This podcast is brought to you by Sports Mediscussion, which reminds you to heal by moving. And my co-host, like I said, is Cory Carpenter. Cory, how you doing this morning?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. I'm ready to go. Push back the gym a little bit today to get this going, but I definitely think it'll be worth it. So.
Yeah, we've like you said, we tried doing this. It's been a little bit of a minute here, trying to get things going. Finally got the shit figured out that we needed to get it up. So, 4 a.m. is the only time we're together, pretty much daily. So we figured what better time to shoot the video than now. So.
Yeah, man, I think it kind of goes to show, as we talk about a little bit about the goal of our podcast and why we're doing this is, our time is of the essence, and literally this is between this and like 10 p.m. are the only times that we can get together and actually sit down and record something. So I think it goes to show how much we want to do this, getting up at 3:30 before the gym to get this going. So real quick before we get into things, Cory, you want to talk about a little bit about how you got to the gym and how you and I met?
Yeah, absolutely. So been training for quite a while now. Probably 3 or 4 years ago, I was looking for a change, came across this dude online. His name was Corey Gregory. Most people have probably heard of him, obviously. You'll probably hear about him a lot because that's kind of how we met. I heard he was doing something that I'd never really heard of done before, which was squatting every day. I've since learned that a lot of people do it. A lot of people have done it. But it just resonated with me. He's a local guy from Columbus, Ohio. Started following him online, looking into his shit, realized that he actually was from Columbus at the time. I didn't even realize it. So I looked him up, just learned, and I found out he owned a gym in Columbus. And long story short, ended up at his gym, which is called Old School Gym, which again you'll probably hear about a lot over the course of the podcast. I joined that gym in 2000, at the end of 2015. I joined that gym, started going there at 4 o'clock every morning just because that was the only time that I could get there and then still make it back in time for work. It is about a 45-minute drive from my house, so I usually take off about 3:15 from here to make it there in time.
Cool, man. Yeah, I think, like you said, we're going to be referring a lot to Cory, a lot to Old School Gym, just because obviously it's how we met, and then it's kind of provided a new foundation for what our overall goals are. So, I started out the same way, kind of a fanboy on Twitter, Instagram of Cory, just because of all the cool stuff he was doing. Tweeting to him all the time, sending him videos of my squat just to see why it was so bad. But now, I started coming to the gym in the last few days of July of this year. I was trying to get Cory on the phone to talk about business, and Cory's time is very valuable, and he's not going to give 30 minutes to some Joe Schmo who he's never met before. So he finally emailed me back after like 5 or 6 emails. He was like, "Come on, bro, start coming to the gym." So I ended up going that next morning and trained with him, and it was kind of a surreal experience. But I got a membership, I think, that next day, and then I haven't stopped going since, and that was 6 months ago. So, Cory, you said you live in what city do you live in, Cory?
I actually live in Dublin.
Dublin, okay. See, I'm a grad student at OU right now, which I'll talk about more here in a little bit. But my drive is about 1:15 every morning, so I'm getting up at 2:30. It sounds pretty crazy. I get questions about it all the time, but I make the drive every morning, get there at 4, train with the crew for about 2 hours, and get back for class by 7:30ish, and then class and then work all day. So it's been pretty crazy. That's how Cory and I met. I kind of joke with him a little bit. I never really talked to him at the beginning because he was kind of an intimidating guy. He's kind of quiet, but we became good friends and are learning more about each other each and every day. So I think for the listeners, I think that's important to know as well. Me and Cory don't really know each other that well, so I think as you guys learn more about us, we're also going to be learning more about each other, which I think is a pretty cool aspect of these podcasts. So now, Cory, do you want to talk about a little of what our overview of the show is? And I think as we go along, it'll probably become more apparent, but just some of our underlying reasons for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we talked about this for, maybe a couple weeks now. We decided we wanted to do this. When we did, we weren't really sure what we wanted to call it, what we wanted to talk about, but we knew why we wanted to do it. And it's both that, obviously, we are both very busy. We've already talked about that, but everybody's really busy. It's not like we're saying we're the only ones out there hustling, trying to make shit happen. We both have medical backgrounds. I work at a hospital. You do your athletic training. So we had that common ground there. And then at the same time, we both, understand that it's going to take sacrifices to make shit happen and do what you want to do in life. I work 40 hours a week at a hospital doing a normal job, but at the same time I have these big goals and aspirations and dreams, like most people do. The only difference is I knew that the only way for them to happen is to actually get off my ass and do something about it. So that's why we're here at 4 a.m. on Thursday morning talking about the podcast, because it's something that most people aren't willing to do. There's not very many people that I would, agree to do something like this with. Because, it's just a podcast, but I kind of look at it more as a business venture, business partner. And whenever, when I started driving 45 minutes to the gym every day, people told me I was nuts and I was crazy. And that was simply because no one at the gym was doing it yet. Now that I've done it, multiple people have done it, you're driving well over an hour. So it makes my 45 minutes look like nothing. So I was excited whenever you told me that you wanted to do this. I knew that you were all in and you're no bullshit, just like I was. So I think that's why this will be a good fit. But what do you want to kind of get into as far as the podcast? What are we going to talk about, or why are we doing it? I guess together.
Yeah. So I think you hit it on the head. I think there's very few people I've met besides you, Cory, that have the discipline that you do, and that's something I admire about you a lot. So again, like you said, I wouldn't do this with just anybody. So that's why I'm extremely excited about doing this with you, because I think we can bring very unique aspects of fitness, of a medical background, and just plain, being a practitioner of what we do, because I think that there's kind of a disconnect between the medical field and the fitness community, which I'll talk about my driving force probably in future episodes, but it's one thing I want to try to change, just because people can know a lot of stuff as far as, anatomy, biomechanics, but they don't put it into practice, and then vice versa. So, but I think the big thing with this show, with this podcast, is, Cory, I think you overviewed it very well. The one thing I want to kind of portray to our listeners is me and Cory are working a lot of hours. So, like I said, we're both getting up very, very early. We're training at 4 a.m., leaving by around 6. Cory's got his hospital work. I got, 3, 4, 5 hours of class every day until noon, 1:30. And I'm driving another hour to my high school where I work usually from 2:30 to 8. Another hour drive home, get back by 9:30, try to get some extra work done, and hopefully in bed by 11, which doesn't really give me much sleep, but you got to do what you got to do. So with that being said, I think once me and Cory both got to the gym, our aspirations have changed drastically. I went from wanting to be an athletic trainer for the rest of my life to wanting to be more of a sports medicine entrepreneur. But you can't make that change in one day. So for people who have had started listening to personal development podcasts or reading books, and they're like, man, I'm just not happy with this, or I feel like I need something more. You don't need to make a drastic change, in a week. Like Gary Vee talks about a lot, never working a 9 to 5 if you're a true entrepreneur, which for some people works. For him, he was investing in Twitter, Uber, Vimeo, all that stuff. But for the average person, not to say average in a bad way, but for an average person, that's just not really practical, at least at the beginning. You got to make the money, you got to work that 9 to 5. But you can also do things on top of that, which we're trying to portray by doing this podcast at 3:30 in the morning. You have to make time to set yourself up to do what you want to do in the future. So you got to work the 9 to 5, maybe stay up till midnight and do research on whatever other field you're trying to get into, whether that's fitness, sports medicine. Selling flowers. It could be whatever your true passion is. You need to make that time to become a practitioner of your field, of your craft, and perfect it. You got to know the content. You got to know the information. You got to be the best at what you do to be successful in whatever you want to do. So I think us doing this right now is a good example of being able to make time for what you want to do. But I also think, I got 30 topics in my notebook right now that we can talk about how to help our listeners out, and hopefully we can provide some value to them. So.
Yeah, dude, that's spot on. That reminded me of something I wanted to talk about in terms of our name and Health and Hustle. We've already obviously talked about our health background. The hustle background kind of hit home for me because pretty much my entire life I've heard the word hustle and people say hustle, 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 and it always just had kind of a negative connotation to me because when I heard the word hustle, I kind of thought like you were like someone that was doing things they shouldn't be doing, or trying to make a quick buck off of somebody, scamming, this, that, whatever. And as of recently, the last year or two, it's kind of got a different meaning to me, and that is, you can make shit happen, but you got to do it. You got to put in the work. You got to be moving quick. You can't be sitting around thinking about it. You got to actually be out there doing it. I've been a gym guy for more than half of my life now at this point, for as old as I am. And I would always sit around and watch videos online, on Instagram, on YouTube of people lifting weights, doing it for their career, their job, and thinking, dude, how awesome would that be, like, if I could do that as my job, And I honestly just, where I'm from, it's a small town, closed-minded people. You don't really see a lot of entrepreneurial type figures. And I just honestly thought, that's never in the cards for me. That's not meant for me. You got to be somebody special. Until I joined the gym and put myself in the right environment and around the right people, I honestly never thought that was something I could do. I've since learned that is possible. The most successful people in the world aren't anything special. They just do the small things very, very well, very consistently.
Every day,
that's something I'm very, very good at. So for the last 3 years now, I've been putting in a little bit of work consistently day in and day out without fail. And the results have just been unreal. The amount of things that have happened within the last, like I said, 3 years. I went from saying how cool would it be to have abs to being at Muscle Beach, like working
shredded
out in Venice, getting pictures taken and shit. Like, it's just unbelievable the progress that has happened over the last few years. And we literally, I don't even think we've started yet. I think we've just been laying the groundwork. So I'm just super excited for the future, really excited for this podcast and where we're going to go. I know this is kind of a slow first episode, just kind of like getting ourselves out there and letting you guys know that, hey, we're coming at you. I know a lot of people don't even really know we're planning on doing this, so when they hear it for the first time, they're probably going to be pretty shocked. Just keep in mind that, we've just got a lot on our mind, a lot we want to get out, and we know we can definitely help a lot of people and a little bit of a different demographic of people. And we're just basically trying to let you know on this first episode, you can do it. It is possible. Get off the couch, get on your feet, and start putting in the work. I don't care if you got to go to work today or, you have dinner plans tomorrow. We've got a lot of shit going on. Everybody's busy. But you don't have to be 100% entrepreneurial to be happy and to make your dreams work. You can do it, on the side and then work your way to it.
Yeah, that's a great point, Cory. So, obviously that's the foundation of this podcast. So we're going to be expanding on that throughout every episode that we're on, because each of our topics are going to aim to provide value in some regard to the listeners surrounding that point. But like I said, we've got tons of topics we can talk about. So I think this is a good starting point. So, like Cory said, this episode is a little bit slow just because we're trying to let you guys know who we are, because we don't have huge followings at all on social media. a couple thousand followers. But so I think Cory, I think it'd be good to give our listeners a little bit of background on our medical background, our fitness background, kind of where we came from. And we talked about us being medical professionals, also being gym junkies. So do you want to start us off and give us a little bit of background on where you came from, what your background's been, kind of what you're doing now, and then where you see yourself in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I am an imaging technologist, so I'm an MRI technologist, CAT scan technologist, X-ray technologist. So I will be performing your exam if you ever come to the hospital and you need an MRI, CT, or X-ray. I've been doing that for six going on 7 years now. Went to radiology school in Wheeling, West Virginia, right out of high school. From a small town in eastern Ohio, and Wheeling, West Virginia happened to be the closest city that had a hospital. So I learned there. About 6 months before graduation, I realized I needed to get the hell out. If I stayed there, I wasn't going to grow. Liquid will only fill a container as big as it can. It can only fill it to the top, right? So I felt like at that point I was close to the top already, and by the time I graduated, I wasn't going to grow anymore. I didn't know what I wanted to do or how I was going to do it, but I knew I needed to get out. So I found Ohio State had a fellowship program for MRI. So I moved to Columbus in 2011, and I've been here ever since, lived in Dublin ever since. Got a job at Ohio State a few months after I moved up here. I moved up here with no job. I was planning on going to school here, but I had no job. I found someone that would let me live with them for cheap rent. So I came up here, searched every day. I moved up here probably 2 months before school started. Just every single day went out trying to find a job. I ended up getting a job at UPS, slinging boxes in the middle of summer. So it was interesting. But yeah, so I've been at Ohio State for 7 years now. But going into the future, obviously trying to turn fitness into a career. It's always been my underlying passion, and I never just really knew how to go that direction as a career. I joined the medical field because I loved helping people. I loved working with people. There's just some type of feeling you get when you've helped someone live a longer life, a happier life, a healthier life. And I thought that the hospital was the only way to do that. And I've since learned that, I can actually do that through fitness maybe before they even get to the hospital. So if I can get a hold of someone, teach them, help them learn, be healthier before they go to the hospital, and then still be happier along the way for myself, that's what I'm going to do. So now I've just been, for the last few years, trying to do anything in my power to get to that point. In addition to working at the hospital, I'm a personal trainer. I do that on the side, so that's just another thing to add to our schedule for the day. So I wake up in the morning about 2:30, 3 o'clock, drive to the gym. I usually leave the gym around 3:15, get to the gym around 3:45, 4 o'clock, train for 2.5 hours, whatever it takes, depending on what we're doing. Drive back 45 minutes into rush hour. I work 7, 8 to 3:30, 4:30, 8 o'clock in the afternoon. Train clients after work, depending on what time that may be. Come home, eat dinner, read, study, whatever I'm working on at that moment. Get my shit ready for the next day, go to bed and do it all over again. It's kind of a quick rundown. I'm not sure if that even made any sense, but kind of where I'm at right now. I think what we should do is like once a week have like one quick hitter where we kind of talk a little bit about ourselves.
Yeah.
Instead of keeping one thing too long-winded, just maybe give one quick pointer every week. That way everyone can learn and we can learn too.
Yeah, man.
But let me stop talking and let you kind of tell us about you a little bit.
You're good, man. So I'm going to start a little bit a few years back. So I talked about in the beginning, I wanted to kind of bridge that gap between the healthcare community and fitness community. So my driving force statement, which I came up with this probably when I started listening to Cory's stuff, because he's always got a driving force. So my driving force is I want to use discipline, research, and work ethic to help as many people as I can while bridging the healthcare industry and fitness community together. Because like I said, there's that big disconnect there. I got into that. I played 3 sports in high school, football, basketball, and soccer. I kicked for the football team, so I don't know if that counts really as playing. But I ended up, I sustained a lot of injuries as far as my ankles. I had terrible ankle issues. I think I inherited from my dad. But I ended up playing college soccer at Marietta, and I got more into the medical field. That was what my bachelor's degree was at Marietta, was athletic training. So on top of playing a collegiate sport, I was working. I ended up getting 800 hours to sit for my certification exam at the end of the 4 years. So I worked with softball, baseball, basketball teams, as well as the local high school football team, just to get the hands-on experience, learn how to work with patients, work on the eval, and just, all the skills that go into being an athletic trainer, which I can go more into it in future episodes. I don't think a lot of people know what athletic trainers do, other than everybody thinks it's just taping and using ice. So kind of a misnomer there, which I'd like to kind of clear the air with. But I digress a little bit. But so I got my bachelor's from Marietta. I'm now at Ohio University getting my master's, which I should be done with here in 2 months, which will be a Master of Science in Athletic Training as well. I'm hoping to have my CSCS by the end of May, and then I'm also a business owner with a sports medicine lecture company where we provide people activity validation courses for Ohio high school coaches. So basically, the coaches have to get recertified through the Ohio Department of Education every 3 years. So we provide those services for the coaches. We service about 400 high schools in the state of Ohio, about 80 workshops of the year. And again, it kind of just came up within the last year. I made some contacts around Ohio, and within the last year, I went from meeting the guy 6 months later, started in workshops for him, and now I own half the business. On top of that, I do a little bit of personal training on the side. I kind of highlight what I do with injury prevention and rehab programming. I do a lot of weight loss and wellness programming, and then also strength and conditioning and sport-specific enhancement. So I'm actually writing up a 3-month team workout for our basketball team at the high school that I work at here at New Lexington, which I also do in correlation with the OU master's program. So I work here pretty much full-time. They don't say it's full-time, but the hours add up pretty quickly. So I'll be doing that, which I'm pretty excited about. As we talked about, 4 a.m. crew member at Old School, which it's becoming a pretty big name. We heard a lot this past weekend about what the 4 a.m. crew means to people, which is pretty cool. So I think that's kind of a quick rundown of my background. But like Cory said, I think we can do a quick hitter each episode so people can learn more about us and so we can learn more about each other. So how'd that sound, Cory? Pretty good?
Yeah, man, that was spot on. I think you nailed it. Real quick, before we go any farther, what was this thing you were talking about this weekend, the Arnold Classic? Is it what is that? I've never heard of that before.
It's a little convention. I think a few thousand people go. No, it's I think it is the biggest fitness expo in the world, if I'm correct. Right?
I want to say it's either somewhere between that and the LA Fit. I've heard from a lot of people this one is better. I know Arnold. I heard a long time ago he wanted to make the biggest fitness expo in the country, and then he wanted to put one on every continent. And I think he's done that. I think he's got probably, I don't know if he's got all of them yet, but I know it's grown. There's one all over. But I would have to venture to say it's got to be, if not number 1, number 2 biggest fitness exposition in the world, no doubt.
Yeah, it was. It was an unbelievable weekend. One that I'll never forget, and I think Cory, you're the same way. Just based on the past few years showing up and waiting hours in line to meet people, and then this year we're representing Max Effort Muscle, representing Old School Gym, with our crew, with Cory, with John, all the owners of Max Effort Muscle. It was a pretty surreal experience, and I don't want to get too much into that because I think we can definitely talk about that more in future episodes, because I mean, the impact that had on me personally was just, like I said, it was surreal. I never thought I'd be working a booth at the Arnold. So, do you want to say anything about that, Cory, real quick?
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it. I just wanted to, we just came away from there. I think it was it was a super exciting weekend for everybody. Got to hang out with all the guys outside the gym. I know that doesn't happen very often because everyone's super busy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just remember the main thing I want to kind of touch on was when I got there on Thursday to set up. And I went to the exhibitor booth, and they handed me a lanyard, and it had my name on it. It said Max Effort Muscle, Old School Gym on it. And I was just thinking back to, like literally 2 years ago when I got there, like 2 hours before the doors opened, waited in line just to meet this dude that I heard of online that, that I'd never even met before, that actually lived like an hour away from me, stood in line for I don't know how long, just to shake his hand and get a couple minutes of his time. That was probably one of the most exciting things I'd ever done. And then here we are 2 hours later, 2 hours, a lot of man hours, a lot of sleep lost later, and we're actually there working beside him, representing a company that means a lot to a lot of people, means a lot to us. And I think just to hear from a lot of the guys that came in from out of town, that have been hitting us up online, I think it was just a really special time. And I know we've been talking about it a lot, but I think it's just a big weekend for everybody in general. So I think we could probably touch on that more in the future, though.
I agree. Yeah, it was a very humbling weekend. But yeah, I won't go too much into that now. But so, Cory, I think we're making some good progress here, talking about. I think we've introduced ourselves well to the listeners, so they kind of have a better idea of who we are, what we've done, and what direction we're heading. So with that being said, I think kind of what direction we're going to go in the future. So I think it'd be good as we go forward, before we get into our one topic for the episode, real quick touching on some of your short and long-term goals, if you have any.
Okay. Yeah, so I break my goals up into like fitness, business, and personal. So to just kind of touch on fitness and business a little bit, my overall fitness goal is to, I've said this multiple times, I think a lot of people would probably agree, is to be a real gym guy. You see the guys that have the 6 or 8 pack, I call them tablet abs, where they just take a bunch of fat burners, they don't eat, and then they get peeled up. But they probably couldn't lift, they probably couldn't lift a weight to save their life, So I want to be strong, but look good, be healthy. So short term for that, I'm going to compete in a series of, between bodybuilding, physique, powerlifting events, going back and forth, putting on real muscle. But right now, I'm actually kind of, I don't want to say I'm bulking because everybody says they're bulking all the time, but I don't have any events scheduled. I don't have any events scheduled till the fall. I've got a lot of stuff going on in my personal life right now that we can touch on another day, but I've got 3 weddings coming up this summer that I'm going to actually be in, a few bachelor parties, honeymoon, so different things like that. So it's kind of hard to cut and I could do it. I've done it before, but I kind of want to just be there for everybody and enjoy the moment and not have to stress about that. For business, obviously I work full-time, just like we all do, but for my overall fitness goal by the end of the year is to have a comparable salary from training as I do from the hospital, so I can begin to, as my clientele base builds from personal training, I'm going to tweak back my hours at the hospital and then eventually just do a 360 swap. I don't think I'll ever quit the hospital because I love it so much. I love the work. I love the people. And I actually do really enjoy that work. But I want to kind of tweak the way I go about it to where it's more on my terms and my hours instead of theirs. So I don't think I'll ever actually fully quit that job. But my overall goal in life is literally just to live a life I don't need a vacation from. Working in the hospital has given me as much motivation as the people outside of it. So, we're around people at the gym like Cory or Dustin or, Zach, the guys that are literally living their dreams and wake up every day loving what they're doing. And that's super, super motivating.
It's contagious,
but since
isn't
I've
it?
been around them, I've actually learned that the people I work with at the hospital are just as equally motivating for the opposite reasons. They wake up, they go to work, they hate their fucking job, they go home, they eat dinner, they bitch about having to go back to work tomorrow, they count down their days till their next vacation, they come back from vacation, they're pissed off, they're back at work. Like, that's just as motivating to me as the people that love what they do every day. So my overall goal is to live a life I don't need a vacation from, and we'll touch on that more obviously, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. That stuff with Cory and Dustin's contagious, isn't it? Seeing them live their dream.
I mean, there's so much that's been going on inside that gym. Like, I mean, I know we talk about it a lot, and we'll continue to talk about it a lot. It's definitely a special place. I think there's a lot of gyms throughout the country that are special, and I think we'll learn about it more as we go.
Yeah.
But the amount of people that have joined the gym within the last couple of years, the amount of people that have joined the 4 a.m. crew within the last couple of years, and then the amount of people that have been doing their own thing and growing and starting their own businesses, starting their own associations. I mean, how we're going to have a new bodybuilding and powerlifting organization here in Ohio within the next year. And that's all stemmed from our environment. So it's definitely special.
Yeah. The stuff we've been doing outside of the gym has been unreal. So, real quick, I'm just going to touch on my goals. I don't really have. I mean, I have a list of like 25 here on my notebook that I started out with in January. I like to break them down with business, personal, and fitness. But my main goals, my short-term goals are 5 to 10 years. My long-term goals are longer than that. I kind of go with the Gary V mindset on this. But this year I do want to take part in the dual powerlifting and bodybuilding show with the OPBA, which we talked about. Which I think we'll try to have Tyler and Zach on here in one of our episodes, get more insight on that. After I graduate in April, I have to finish up my work here at New Lexington High School, and then after that I want to try to teach multiple online classes at multiple universities outside of Ohio, because one thing Jay Hazelton talks about is the amount of money you can make online is pretty crazy, just by finding some type of niche that's not being filled and filling it is pretty bizarre. So that's a big goal of mine on top of my business. I do want to take over the entire PAV business within the next 3 or 4 years. My business partner, he's a bit older, and he's trying to get out of the game slowly but surely. So he's kind of teaching me the ropes. And like I said, hopefully in 3 or 4 years I'll have 80 to 90 workshops that I'll be responsible for. And hopefully I want to expand those because we're kind of competing with some of the bigger hospitals in Columbus, Dayton, Cincinnati, to try to take away some of their business. Is one thing that I want to try to do. I do think we really provide quality workshops for the coaches. They're very unique compared to the other ones that are around the state. I would like to open an old school affiliate gym, which they just dropped their affiliate program for the Arnold Classic, which I think it's on their website if I'm not mistaken. And then my underlying goal is to gross $1 million in profit by the age of 28. So I'm 24 right now, so it gives me about 3.5 years to reach that goal. And I do think I'm not about the money. I know that it sounds kind of narcissistic to kind of say I want to make this much money in 4 years, but I want to do it in a way that, first of all, makes me happy, and second of all, provides value to others. So I do a ton of some might see them as annoying posts on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, but I do like to try to provide value in that regard. To try to get people interested in what I'm doing as far as my individual programming, but I really do want to provide as much free service as I can because I do think it's important for people who don't know. So yeah, those are my short-term goals as far as what I want to do in the near future. Like I said, 5 to 10 years. But other than that, man, I think we should kind of get into the topic and get our listeners out of here. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. There's some right there where what you were just talking about as far as making the money within the next couple of years. I think leads right into the topic just fine, which is I think we mentioned earlier what we were going to talk about, and I think it's being uncomfortable? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, stepping outside your comfort zone, being uncomfortable. Yeah.
Which I think that's a perfect example, because there's probably not a whole lot of people you've told that to, probably because you haven't felt necessarily that was something that you could tell to a lot of people. Depending on who you told that goal to, they would probably roll their eyes, make comments, make remarks under their breath, because they probably would look at it negatively.
I get made fun of, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But when you told me that goal, I loved it. That was awesome. I know a lot of people have monetary goals, and it's important to have monetary goals, because if you don't, you can't visualize it into reality.
Yeah.
And I think as long as you're making your money in a way that is honest and with integrity, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
Yep.
So touching on the stepping out of your comfort zone and being uncomfortable, I think is huge. I think it's something we'll talk about a lot in the future. There's different reasons for that, whether it's mental, whether it's physical. A couple of things that we could kind of touch on, is the fact that we're doing a fucking podcast at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's
that epitomizes it.
Yeah. I've been waking up at 2:30 now for almost 2 years. It does not get easier.
No.
Whenever people say it doesn't
not.
get easier, you get stronger, it's true. It never gets easier waking up at 2:30 in the morning. So I do want to apologize. There's one thing to wake up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. It's another thing to wake up at 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning and put together like functioning sentences. So I'm kind of struggling with that right now. I'm not going to lie, but that'll definitely get better. But I think all growth happens outside the comfort zone. I'm sure you've heard that before. But, if you're comfortable, you're not growing. And if you're not facing adversity, you're not growing. So I had a conversation with someone a few days ago, and we were talking about some stuff they were going through personally. And I told him, I said, adversity builds strength, but only if you fight past it. If you get to the point of adversity and you stop and you give up and you quit, you don't get stronger that way. It's when you find a way to get over that wall, whether you climb the wall, you punch through the wall, you dig under the wall, you have to get through the wall, and that's where you find the strength, is on the opposite side of adversity. And I think that goes hand in hand with comfort.
Yeah, because if you stop, if you get to that wall of adversity and you stop, then you almost become weaker, because it becomes easier to stop and stop and stop once you hit that adversity each time. And over time, it almost becomes a habit, because, habits are what you repeatedly do. If you stop every time, somebody says no, or things get tough, then you're gonna end up being. John Fosco, the one thing he always says, you're gonna be looking at the same walls in 10 years. So it's one of those things where either you push past it and you get better, or you don't, and then you have to live with the consequences of that.
Yeah, and I think something I always tell people too, because I have these conversations. When we have these conversations within our group or our crew or the gym, it's normal conversation. We all get each other. We all know where it's coming from. We've all learned from similar, like-minded people. But when we have these conversations outside the gym, I find myself, saying things that people probably maybe haven't heard before. But one thing I always believe, and I preach to people, is life is binary. So what I mean by that is either you're growing and you're moving forward, or you're moving backward. There is no staying the same.
Yeah, you never
If you do the same thing every day for the rest of your life, you might think you're in the same spot, but you're not, because the rest of the world is moving forward. So if you're sitting still and the rest of the world's moving forward, the other way to look at it is you're moving backwards. So you're either moving forward or you're backward. There is no in between. There's no staying the same.
Yeah, that's awesome, Cory. I think you hit some really good points there. I just think with stepping outside your comfort zone, with my personal experience with it, I talked a little bit about how I got to old school, and basically, Cory emailed me and told me to come, and I went the next day. But I told myself I was going to go to old school and visit for like a year. But I kept telling myself I need to get a little bit faster. I need to get a little bit stronger. I need to look better, because those guys at the gym are going to, make me look like just some kind of stooge. But I went, and it was fine. And I've met, the people I've met since I've been there, I couldn't even count, because there's been so many great people that I've met. Outside of our crew, just people from social media, which I think we learned a lot about this weekend at the Arnold. And I have a few other examples. Talking about I went to undergrad at Marietta. I knew no one. I'd never left home before, and I was about 2 hours southeast Ohio, which is a very different area than Akron, Ohio. Just the culture and the people, which I loved. I mean, I consider Marietta second home now. But when you go 2 hours away, knowing no one, you're forced to. I mean, obviously you need to meet new people, learn how to adapt to uncomfortable situations. I mean, playing a college sport, taking a pretty extremely hard college major on top of just learning how to socialize with the thousands of people you never met before is a big thing for me. And then going to graduate school right now, taking a full-time position at a high school, on top of everything, working with 300 athletes every day, being the only guy, the only medical professional on site every day. I mean, the nurses there during the days, but as far as like athletic kids, it's been a great experience, but also it's been very tough. You got to learn on the fly. Working with people every day, you'll quickly realize that you have to be prepared for anything. I mean, Cory, I'm sure you know that at any given moment, you never know what's going to happen. If it's going to be an ankle sprain or somebody goes into cardiac arrest, you just never really know. So I think stepping outside of your comfort zone is twofold. One, I found personally for me, I do the best when I just throw myself into something, which sounds kind of reckless, but I think, like I said, personally for me, I think it's the best because I don't give myself time to think about it. So I'm doing my thesis right now to finish up my coursework at OU, and I've been presented like 3 or 4 different opportunities to present my thesis. Actually, one's at our big NATA convention in Houston, which is the biggest. It's like the Arnold Expo for athletic trainers. I was presented the opportunity to do that, and I just said, yeah, I'll do it. I emailed them right back and just said, yeah, I'll do it. And for all these other opportunities, I just say, yeah, I'll do it. Because I don't give myself the time to say, I think I'll be too nervous to do that. I don't want to. I don't want to drive. I don't want to go to Houston. It's too far. I just throw myself into the situation, which, like I said, is reckless in a sense. But if you're prepared for it and you do things the right way and you know your craft and you know your field, then it shouldn't be that big of a deal. The other thing I think is really important, on top of if you don't know how to throw yourself into something, or you're too nervous or you're too uncomfortable, surround yourself with people who will do that for you. So the people that I've surrounded myself with at old school, Cory got me to the gym, but some of the things I've done since I've been to the gym have been things that I would never even imagine. Like I said, I wanted to be an athletic trainer for the rest of my life until I came to the gym 6 months ago, and now I own half of a business. Well, I own a business. It's half of the PAV business. I'm doing individual programming. I'm doing a podcast, which I never thought I'd do. So if you can't throw yourself into the fire, I mean, it sounds kind of weird, but if you can't throw yourself into the fire, surround yourself with people who walk into the fire with you, or else you'll never go through it and you'll never get stronger. So I think those are my two big points as far as stepping outside of your comfort zone and being uncomfortable.
Dude, that was a fucking knowledge bomb.
Thanks, man.
You need to write that one down, save that one. No, that was exactly, yeah, you're exactly right. There's, like we already said, there's physical, there's mental, there's, the biggest way, I think, to step outside your comfort zone is doing shit before you're ready. I knew one day I'd be on a podcast, one day I'd do a podcast. I'd never in a million years thought it would be in March 2017. Like, there's no way in hell I thought I'd be doing something like this that soon. But one of my biggest regrets I've had in the last few years is not doing shit sooner. So say yes, do it, figure it out along the way. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, there's never a right time, right, Cory?
No.
People are always waiting for the right time to do something. Yeah, you got to do it now.
If you wait till you're ready, you'll literally never do shit. I mean, I waited the same. I waited almost a year before I went to the gym because I didn't think I was ready. I need to squat 5 more pounds. I need to get a little bit more shredded. You'll never be ready. You just got to do it.
Yeah. Man, I think that was good. Like I said, I think we're actually running over a little bit on time because we want to try to keep these 30 to 40 minutes. I think we're a little bit over that, but like I said, like we said at the beginning, we wanted to introduce you guys to us a little bit so you know a little bit more about us. But I think Cory, I think we gave him some good value there with the topic of the day.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to get into it more, and there's a million things we can get into more in the future for sure.
Yeah.
I've got like 15 minutes before I have to be at the gym, and then I gotta get that in before work because I have to train someone after work. So, is there anything you want to throw in or add? Anything you want to leave us with before we take off?
No, man. I mean, I think I do want to give a sports med tip. So, I mean, I think if we're ready to give our parting shots, I think that's I think that would be a good way to end it.
You want to start? I'll let you start.
Yeah, man. So, like I said earlier, I'm always posting stuff, just little minute clips on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, of things that you can do to help either prevent injuries or rehab from them. So, 2 days ago, I posted a 4-way hip rehab program. So this can be something that if you have hip issues in the past, or if you're just trying to prevent them from happening, I think it's a good circuit for you. So it's flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, all with a band. And then you have lateral side steps and monster walks as well with a band. If you guys don't know, ACL tears are a huge issue, just period. But with high school athletes and specifically female adolescent athletes, it's pretty much an epidemic. Because they sustain them so much for a multitude of reasons that I won't get into. But along with strengthening the hamstrings, because the hamstrings are the main stabilizer of the ACL, weak hips are also one of the biggest factors that predispose athletes to injury. So strengthen your hamstrings. Look at my video on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Strengthen your hips up, and that'll give you guys a foundation to strengthen your hips so you won't have as many knee injuries.
That was definitely a good video. I liked it. It's something that I've done for a long time, and I like some gyms will have a machine for it, but I liked it because you showed that you don't have to have a machine. You can do it at your house. You don't have to do it at the gym. You could do it in the morning or at night with a band. So guys, definitely check out that video. I do it. My fiance does it, and I've got a couple of buddies that have hit me up, and I have them do it. So maybe even, Todd, throw that back out there somewhere so people can find it easier.
Okay. Yeah,
I think it definitely helps a lot. Guys, I wanted to let you know, this dude here, since he's been at the gym for 6-7 months now, has helped everyone in our gym, and our crew at least, with different rehab, prehab, warm-ups, different routines, and he knows his shit. And it's good to see someone actually in the gym getting after heavy weight, but still has a really good medical knowledge background and not just talking strictly bro science. If you get all of your information from bodybuilding.com, you are killing yourself. So definitely stay tuned and listen to the stuff that he has to say because he knows his shit.
Appreciate that, man. You got any parting shots, Cory?
I got one thing real quick. I'm not going to get into much of a fitness tip or anything, but something that's kind of helped me a lot over the last few years is reading books, reading different things. I went from literally not reading a single book since probably junior high or high school to reading over 30 books last year. I literally spent every free minute I had reading, and the impact it had on my life has been unbelievable. So that's something I've been kind of trying to reiterate to people, helping people with different books or things they can read to help themselves. So kind of what I want to do is share a quote with you from a book actually this wasn't even from a book, it was from an author, Gary Vaynerchuk, which you guys will hear a lot about in the future. But the quote said, "The only person you need permission from is yourself." And that's why the reason I want to share that today is because we're shooting our first podcast. I had about a 3-minute conversation with myself about whether or not we should do it and whether or not I was ready. And then I decided, why the hell am I even questioning it? We know we want to do it. We know we have good information to share with the world. And if people don't like it, frankly, plug your ears, kids. If you don't like it, go fuck yourself. I'm going to do what I want to do, what makes me happy. Whether that's lifting heavy weight, whether it's going to the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning, whether it's, literally anything you want to do it. You don't have to worry about what other people think about you, and you don't have to ask anybody's permission.
Throw yourself into the fire, right, Cory?
Exactly.
All right, man. Well, I think we should wrap it up. Listeners, we hope you guys enjoyed this first episode. So we will be bringing you guys an episode per week. We're still trying to figure out when it'll drop each week because we're gonna try to get on a schedule and have it on the same day every week. But you can find us on iTunes, YouTube, and SoundCloud. All right, Cory, before we leave, you want to give them your social media handles real quick so they can find you?
Yeah, the easiest spot to find me is Instagram or Twitter at CorCarpFit, CorCarpFit. I am on Snapchat. My Snapchat handle is just CorCarp. So definitely hit me up on Snapchat and say what's up. It's a lot easier to interact quick back and forth on Snapchat. And then my email, any questions, anytime, is corecarpfit@gmail.com.
Cool, man. And you guys can find me on all social media handles, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, at Todd, TODD, Sable, SABOL, _PAV. All right, and my email is todd.sable4@gmail.com. All right, Cory, I think that wraps up our first episode. I think we went a little bit over, but I think we provided some good background, and then we talked about, gave some good insight on our topic as well. So I think that...
I know we, like I said, we definitely went over. We're running a little bit late already. It's not even 5 a.m., and I'm running behind schedule, which is fun. I love it. It keeps me going. But yes. What are you about to do today? I know it's, like I said, it's not even 5. What do you got planned? What's next for you?
Oh, I drove to the high school this morning to get some quiet area for this podcast. So I'm going to drive back to old school about another hour, train for about 2 hours, drive back to Athens another hour 15. I'm actually going to try to figure out how to get this podcast up on some social media platforms, and then because I'm on spring break right now, and then I got the high school work later till about 8 p.m. and drive home and try to get to bed before 11 so I can get 3 hours of sleep.
Tight. Cool. All right, guys. Well, I'm about to hit the gym. I think it's shoulders today. So I know I got to get after it. Gym, work, training. I will probably be home around 7:30. So I'll get some food in and get some reading done.
Cool, man. All right, guys. We appreciate you listening. Peace.
All right, guys. Have a good day. Peace.
Wanna do us, screw us, who us? Yeah, Papa and Pump. Close like Starsky and Hutch, stick to clutch. Yeah, I squeeze 3 at your cherry M3. Bang every MC easily.
Take that.
Recently, niggas frontin' ain't saying nothing, so I just speak my peace. Keep my peace. Cubans with the Jesus peace. With my peace. Packing, asking who want it. You got it, nigga, flaunt it. That Brooklyn bullshit, we on it.